We now want to bring in Alan Orr, immigration attorney, to get some reaction to this. Thank you, as always, for helping us out here on Rush digest this decision. Basically, Texas and Louisiana brought this case because they objected to the White House philosophy of, well, we should target immigrants who pose a danger as opposed to a more blanket policy. And what the Supreme Court did today was basically say, no, you really don't have the standing here to challenge federal policy. That's probably grossly oversimplified. You're the attorney. The floor is yours. Why is this ruling significant, and what's the impact on immigration policy going forward?
Monumental. We have a very conservative court that did 8-1 in favor of the Biden administration. So it's not just a DHS policy. It was the Biden administration with regards to enforcement of immigration policies. And the Supreme Court said that that branch has the right to do that. It sets it up also for another president to come in who may have a different policy procedure than the current one to say we're going to do something differently. But in the immigration world, for there to be an execution to this large national problem we have, the executive branch must be able to pick and choose where they can do an enforcement policy, because we cannot remove the 11 million plus individuals in this country. And what the Biden administration set out to do is say, this is our parameters for doing this. This is our execution of the law. And that's what the Supreme Court got behind today in a very remarkable number. So as an immigration attorney, I'm ecstatic that they told them that they don't have standing, because this also speaks to other policies that may follow in the immigration realm, as well as policies that may be from somewhere else. If we allow states every time to have standing in these procedural ways, our executive branch becomes a non-functioning branch of government.
Will you kind of break it down for people, families at home watching, people on the street? What does this look like? How does this decision impact our communities and everyday life?
Right. So let's talk about it in a very local sense. We all have police officers, right, in our communities. And those police officers are charged with making sure that the laws of whatever state or community are followed. And they can decide if they're going to go and spend all their time doing speeding tickets, or if they're going to turn around and look for actual crimes that are harming the community, such as bank robbers, or people who are actually scamming money online or harming children. And so what the Biden administration said was, listen, speeding is important to us, and we'll get to them, but that's not going to be our priority. Our priority are the largest people who are doing the most harm to our society right now. So we're going to focus on those individuals. And what Texas and Louisiana said is, no, you can't say that. You have to say you're going to get everybody. You can't have a preference in sort of how you're going to take your limited resources to address this very national and large problem. And what the Supreme Court said today was, no, you're wrong. This is exactly why the Biden administration was elected and appointed, was to make a way to address this issue. And if they have limited resources, they can determine where they're going to spend their resources. They can also look for people who are speeding, but it's their decision to decide where they're going to spend the most resources with regards to removing and detention of individuals in the United States. It's remarkable, remarkable, remarkable finding today from the Supreme Court.
And let me just understand just for a second. Again, I like to ask everything on a street level so folks at home can understand, because no one gets overly into the legal or political weeds here. If a fire company arrives on the block, and here you have a shed on fire, and here you have a single family home on fire, and here you have a full office building on fire with a couple hundred people in there doing their job, it only would make sense logically that the fire department maybe can't save everybody, but you're going to focus on that building because that's where the most people are, and it's the biggest fire that could damage the most in the neighborhood if you don't get it under control. Just on a rational level, what could possibly be your issue with the administration targeting the more problematic or criminal immigrants first, as opposed to we're getting everybody? I don't understand the logic of that.
So the logic of Texas and Louisiana was that it becomes an attraction feature for people who aren't doing these violent crimes, right? If you're sort of not enforcing the speed limit, then the speed limit sort of doesn't work in a conceptual way. But that's not the way that our laws are set up, where there's just a speed limit. There are other things that are working to bring migration to this country. The fact that we are the United States and people adore our policies here, and while we're not perfect, we're striving for that, and we have opportunities here and our economy is doing well, we attract people. We have always attracted people. So it's not just that we're not removing people immediately, but it's also that we're in a great place to have that, as well as we have a market that requires a number of workers, and we don't have an immigration system to actually meet that challenge. And that's what you've seen in Florida now, where a lot of people who are undocumented moved away, and now you see a lot of those jobs going undone. So the relation is Congress needs to do its job and make a pathway for individuals to come here who just want to work for all type of labor, not just the highest labor in engineering, doctors, and the like. And when we address that need, then we'll address the need of the border. And it won't be about the enforcement policies that we have. It'll be about addressing the issues. We've done this many times in our nation's history with alcohol, even now with marijuana. When you legalize something that we see that people want, rather than saying you just can't have it, and we use it as a tax base and a way to feed the economy in the way that we can, then in a very legal way, it becomes less of a problem in many of these areas. So it's time for the United States and for Congress to do its job and say, okay, there have been 11 million undocumented people here for over 20 years. It's time for us to figure out they're going to be documented. There's some equity issues there. Let's document them, because we have never in the history of this country ever removed from the United States more than close to 200,000 people. Congress only has a budget for 400,000 people. We know there are 11 million people here. So how can the Biden administration possibly remove 11 million people when the budget is only for 400,000 people?
Well, to your point, on this court, again, 8-1 is a hell of a statement. We don't see that a lot these days anymore. Alan, thank you so much. We'll have more analysis on this case on the other side of this break. Stay with us, everybody.